Definitely need to package something, get somebody else in here that can actually put us over the top. And unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I'm a big John Wall fan. I think he's one of the best point guards in the league.
Yeah,
but,
we both love John Wall.
But
I don't hate on him.
But with his contract and with the fact that I think Bradley Beal hasn't hit his ceiling yet. And I feel like
absolutely
Wall's,
not.
Right. I feel like Wall's hit his ceiling. You're getting what you're getting out of Wall. You don't know what you're getting out of Beal. He could get even better. Every night he's knocking down shots. Hitting shots in the fourth quarter when they matter. I mean, John Wall was doing the same thing too. So I'm definitely not putting him down, but I think Beal does it on a more consistent basis. And when he gets out there, he doesn't make if things aren't going his way, he doesn't make any excuses. He comes out the next game and he balls out. So I love both of these guys, and Otto Porter back definitely helps this roster. So.
I think they didn't move him. I think they made a big mistake. I think they overshot with Otto. And what I mean by that is he had a really good breakout season of his contract year. They couldn't afford to lose him because they were coming off a really good playoff run, a great playoff run in Wizards terms.
Right.
So they gave him almost, I'd say market value, because I can't remember the exact number, but Sacramento offered him a pretty big contract offer. Wizards matched, maybe even beat that offer. Can't remember. Forgive me for not knowing the exact numbers. But I think you overshot for Otto Porter. I don't think that's a guy. I would have rather, and I know you've talked in the past that you feel him and Kelly Oubre are the same player. I would have rather kept Kelly Oubre over Otto Porter.
Yeah, and I don't want to say it's a hometown thing, but Georgetown guy, local guy. I think maybe that may or may not have had something to do with it. I mean, he clearly is one of the best. At one point, was one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. Percentages wise, I mean, he can knock down shots, but we need him to be more aggressive. If we want to keep him on the roster, he needs to be more aggressive. We need him to go to the hole, play defense, and really show why they gave him, like you said, why they gave him that contract. Because otherwise, ding, 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 ding. Hi, Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, and
do you want to revisit this?
It's tough to move him now because that contract.
Yep.
Just like John Wall's contract. And I mean, one thing too I've heard a lot of people talk about, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with it, but there's a lot of rumblings that John Wall's seen by a lot of players, or not players, but GMs, as injury prone. And that might hurt his chances of getting moved as well.
I mean, it happens. I mean, you see a guy, you see the knee injury, the heel injury, the hand injury. The hand injury came in the playoffs.
Playing hard.
Yeah. Right. So, but clearly there's obviously stuff going on. I mean, we've missed him, several years for a large amount of time. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely something going on. And if you're going to give somebody a big contract, man, you got to know what you're getting. And if you think that you sign him this big contract and he's going to turn around and he's going to miss half the season, a quarter of the season next year, is it worth it? Is it worth me giving up what I have now to get him? And like you said, a lot of GMs, I don't think that it is.
And a lot of people, too, I know there was talk about let's fire Scott Brooks. It's Scott Brooks' fault. I think we're going to find out a lot about Scott Brooks this season, too. I mean, like we talked about at the beginning of the show, look at Greg Popovich. You and I can go to the Spurs. And in 3 months, we're doing some things we can't do today. I mean, Popovich is going to have us out there, screens, pick and roll, pick and pops.
Yep.
Hey, Pat, you go in there and you get one flagrant foul to set the tone and get back on the bench. That's your role. Can Scott Brooks... Is he that level of coach? Can he get the best out these players? So we're going to learn a lot about the Washington Wizards moving forward for sure. And I'm might sound crazy to say, but I'm kind of excited about that to see what we get out of this team.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could talk about it until the cows come home. I mean, but we do have some talent on that roster. Getting a chance for John Wall to go down, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I think it's a blessing because it gives us a chance to see what some of those guys that are further down the roster can do, rather than just letting them sit on the roster at the bottom of the roster, getting 3 minutes, 4 minutes average for the game. They're getting 15 minutes, 12 minutes. Let's see, in 12 minutes, can you get me 9 rebounds and maybe like 10, 12 points? Can you do that? I mean, we would have never seen this guy Thomas Bryant had Dwight Howard not going down. I don't think we would, because it would have been Mahimi and it would have been Howard.
Another huge contract overshooting. And you can say it's the market, but the market doesn't have to be us. I mean, I understand that these guys demand this kind of salary, but that doesn't mean that the Wizards have to be the team to pay for it.
Right.
Let somebody else, let the Knicks do that. Let the Phoenix Suns be the guys that pay Dwight Howard a crazy amount of money. Why does it have to be us all the time? Just as a Wizards fan, as a Washington sports fan, seems like a broken record. Just it gets very frustrating being that position time and time again. But that is our Wizards report. We'll talk about the Washington Wizards weekly all the time because we're not afraid to say we are definitely some diehard Washington Wizards fans. A couple things I want to talk about before we wrap the show up. We talk about them all the time, but it's good to talk about new teams. Sacramento, a lot of rumors out there now that the alleged conversations between the New York Knicks and the Sacramento Kings, kind of maybe getting some expiring contracts traded, talking about getting Zach Randolph from Sacramento to go to the Knicks, and the Knicks in turn will get rid of Enes Kanter, who, by the way, if you remember, Pat, a couple shows ago, we talked about him talking to the GM and how I said I think he has no right to have that kind of conversation because he's not that level of a player. I think if I'm Sacramento, that's a great move. That's a great move to add Enes Kanter to that roster. It's a big, a serviceable big. I know a lot of people, somebody on Twitter this afternoon had mentioned if they make that move, that gives you Marvin Bagley III, Enes Kanter, and Willie Cauley-Stein. Somebody's got to go. Well, I feel that's easy. Willie Cauley-Stein. He's in a contract year. He's a serviceable big. He's athletic. He's still young. I say you move him. I'm going Kanter at the 5, Marvin Bagley at the 4. You got you're set at 3. You have Fox and Buddy. You have Buddy Buckets in the backcourt, and you still have a little bit of depth on your bench. That's a really good upgrade for that Sacramento Kings roster. I make the move. It's me.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Randolph. He's definitely not the guy that he was when he was in Memphis. He's not.
That's veteran leadership, man.
Right.
That's it.
But what I'm saying is as the Kings, Enes Kanter, like you said, Enes Kanter is one of those guys, man. He's really coming into his own. You watch his game. I mean, he's a big guy. He can get in there. Got
a little edge to him. Got
a little edge to him. Rebounds and put back dunks. I mean, that's what he is. I mean, he's going to be there.
Pick and roll.
Right. Defense. I mean, he's the big. Trust me. You come down that lane, you see him with his hands straight up. You're probably going to pull up, and you get a less likely chance of making that than a layup going underneath him. So, but now he's definitely real gritty. Somebody that clearly you don't want to run into if you're coming down the lane for sure.
Yeah, I just think if that trade happens, that's a win for Sacramento. And then if you're in New York, obviously just trying to free up cap space for the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. They seem to be hell-bent on doing everything they can to get KD. Can't say I blame them. But yeah, that's something I want to mention, talk about the Sacramento Kings a little bit and some of the potential trade rumors. And then you had talked to me about some potential trades you had heard being talked about as well. Some stuff to basically try to break up or defeat the Monstars. I mean, is there kryptonite involved? Is Superman signing a contract with somebody?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a couple of them. I saw it on Bleacher Report. Of course, they were talking about the Rockets. They were talking about the Rockets getting Ken Bazemore, giving up Brandon Knight, a couple of picks. We were talking about the Toronto Raptors getting Courtney Lee, and the New York Knicks getting Norman Powell and I'm sorry if I can't pronounce it, Malichi Richardson, and a pick there. The Milwaukee Bucks, we were talking about them getting Dwayne Dedman, and the Hawks getting Jason Smith and a couple of picks. So, that's just a couple ones that I saw. Of course, Oklahoma City getting Terrence Ross, and the Orlando Magic getting Alex Abrines and Patrick Patterson, and a pick there as well. And then the big one, and this is what got me started reading this article on Bleacher Report, they were talking about the Los Angeles Lakers getting Anthony Davis. The Nolan Pelicans would receive Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, Rajon Rondo, 2019 first-round pick, 2021 first-round pick.
That's a lot.
For Anthony Davis.
That's
right.
That's what got
me reading the article.
So you're getting rid of Ball and you're getting rid of... Let's talk about this a little bit.
Right. Ball, Kuzma, and Ingram.
Who's the point guard? If there's no Rondo and there's no Ball. LeBron's your point guard, like legit? And who's the backup?
Lance Stevenson.
Who's the backup point guard? That's a lot. And if I'm a Lakers, I'm not giving up Kyle Kuzma for anything in the world. That kid is a baller.
Oh, absolutely.
And don't give me that Josh Hart can step up and take his place. Josh Hart does not have the same level of basketball skills today as Kyle Kuzma does. That kid's a beast. The rest of it, Ingram, Lonzo Ball. Lonzo is still young. We have to give him more time, but I'd make that trade. I'd give away Ingram, Ball, and my 2 first-round draft picks, and even Rondo. Like I said, you get rid of both of your point guards. who's playing guard. That's a very big lineup to go against a quick, small Golden State team in the playoffs.
I think you have to have another trade up your sleeve where you're trying to maybe get like a veteran point guard or something to come in behind it. That's the only way I could see that working. Who knows?
If they were able to keep Kuzma but still get Anthony Davis, dude, Kuzma, Davis, and Bron, bring it on. That's a good trifecta because Anthony Davis, we talked about, he's 7 feet tall, putting on the Sham God movie. He's not just back to the basket guy. He can inside, outside, mid range. That's a nasty lineup. They can keep those three. I'm not giving up Kuzma if I'm a Lakers fan. No way.
I think he is the one chip that I think you're right. That he's the one chip that you're like, unless you're giving me something else with maybe Anthony Davis and I'm getting another, young superstar or something like that, which...
Don't have any.
Right,
unless you're going to give us Julius Randle back, who's having a great season. He's having a great season.
Tell me how ironic that would be if they did get him back in that trade.
Hey, man, that's a great pickup. Let's go. Lake Show, baby.
Right? I mean, like you said, though, he is having a great season there in New Orleans, so... who knows? Maybe that would be something that might be intriguing to them.
That's crazy. I don't know. I'm keeping a point guard. I'm throwing Josh Hart's name in there over Rondo or over Ball. I can't get rid of both my guards. I just don't see how they can compete with Golden State when they go small if they get rid of all their guards. What else do you got for us this week?
Oh, man. Everybody's talking about him. We talked about him early in the show, but we can't end the show without talking about James Harden. You just can't do it. I mean, there's too many...
The human cheat code.
You said it the other day, human cheat code. I mean, I can name off a couple of stats that I was able to come up with, and just naming one of them, you're probably going to be blown away. But like I said, if you watch the video, check it out. I believe it's on ESPN. I believe it's on Twitter.
We'll put the link up on our Twitter account. Yeah,
but they definitely got a video, and it talks about some of the stuff. So just some of the stats. So he's got, 5 threes for 10 straight games. That's the longest streak with 5 threes in the NBA history. Just beat out Steph Curry. So that's just one. Since 2015, so the 2014-15 season, he's led the NBA in free throws made. I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, one of the greatest actors of our time, the Denzel Washington of his generation.
Now here's one stat I did get off that video, but it's just mind-boggling. So this year alone, he's made 70% of his points from the 3-point or as a 3-pointer or a free throw. 70% of his points are coming from just those two spots.
That's crazy.
I mean, you talk about the last 10 games, he's averaging 36 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 2 steals, and a block. So, yeah, you may think that all he can do is shoot threes, or maybe all he can do is get layups, but he's still getting 2 steals and a block a game the last 10 games. So he's still doing everything else as well, including, let's just talk about it before we get done. I mean, we wanted to talk about it in the first place, but the 44, 10, and 15 with 2 blocks in a steal game in which he hit the game-winning 3-pointer over 2 Warriors. Two Warriors.
That was awesome. That was
Klay
awesome.
Thompson, Draymond Green, and Draymond Green.
I enjoyed that.
And Draymond Green fouled him on the shot. And that game shouldn't have even gone the way it went if the refs would have actually opened their eyes along with everybody else in the world that was watching the game and noticed that Kevin Durant was standing 2 feet, not 1 foot, not 1 foot, not 1.5 foot, but 2 feet with 2 feet. So he was 2 feet back and he had 2 feet on the ground. When he got that loose ball and threw it, and I believe it was Steph Curry hit a 2 or a 3 or whatever to give him, or it was a 2-pointer.
Yeah,
and that gave him that gave him the lead, and then of course Harden makes the 3-pointer and they win by 1 point. But I mean, we haven't really talked about it, but of course the league comes out with that last 2 minutes,
the 2-minute report,
right?
Yeah. Which is
hey
ridiculous.
Guys,
waste of time.
Just in case you all didn't know that you were right, we're just going to let you know that the refs were wrong, so you were right. That's kind of how I feel about that. I'm like, and the referee, if you watch the replay, the referee was standing, 5 feet away from him. What was he looking at? Was he looking at his hands? Because he clearly wasn't looking at his feet, or he would have clearly seen.
That was so egregious.
It was terrible. But yeah, I mean, that was just one of the stats. They were talking about. If you checked it out, I mean, it talks about.
Wait, what?
Right. I was like, wait a minute. What? Step backs. He has 253 step backs alone. The next best player is Luka Doncic with 88. I mean, you got to watch the video to kind of see it. I mean, it's just, and that might not be step back threes. It might be, that might not be unassisted threes. That might be step backs. I'm not sure. I have to go back and check the video again. But I mean, it's just astonishing looking at some of those numbers.
Yeah, he is just like we were talking about this off air too. But right before we went on with the show, started recording, I was talking about the usage rate. How long can this guy keep this up? Because the NBA season's long. We're about to have the